Hey there, horror fans! Today we're diving deep into the ultimate showdown of cinematic terror as we explore the spine-chilling question: can Michael Myers defeat Jason Voorhees? These two iconic horror villains have plagued our nightmares for decades, and the debate over their possible face-off has been around for just as long. The Halloween franchise's silent and relentless killer Michael Myers, undead since Friday the 13th, and axe-wielding slasher Jason Voorhees are legends in the horror genre. Today we plunge headfirst into the haunting realm of Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees to explore it all. We will discuss their strengths, dissect their weaknesses, and unravel all the rampant myths surrounding them. Prepare for a bone-chilling journey through the dark and twisted showdown between Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees as we paint a vivid picture of their potential spine-tingling battle. So stock up on your snacks, huddle under your blankets. This is going to be a wild and maybe even terrifying ride. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Which one has a more tragic background and origins? Picture this. We're in the quiet city of Crystal Lake, and the year is 1944. On a fateful June 13th, Jason Voorhees entered the world as the child of Elias Voorhees and Pamela Voorhees. But Jason's existence was not a regular one. He bore the weight of excessive facial deformities, hydrocephalus, a strikingly outsized head, and mental disabilities. Pamela, his dedicated mom, raised Jason in their secluded home on the outskirts of Crystal Lake. She kept him sheltered from the outside world, never letting him go to school. His education was confined within the walls of their home, and he soon learned that questioning his mother was not a wise decision. He understood that he needed her guidance to navigate the tough road ahead. Fast forward to 1957, when Pamela took up a job as a cook at the Christie summer camp. With no living relatives to care for Jason and no budget for a nanny, she had little choice but to bring him along to the camp. Unfortunately, things took a dark turn for Jason. He became the target of relentless bullying by the other kids. In an attempt to escape their cruelty, Jason found himself on a dock by the lake, but the bullies caught up to him and heartlessly threw him into the water, where it's believed he met a lonely end. The locals could not help but believe that the place was now cursed, and the unsettling legacy of Camp Crystal Lake continued to grow. This marked the start of a chilling story that would haunt the darkest corners of Crystal Lake for years yet to come. Now here's where the tale took an unexpected flip. Despite the torment he had to go through within the lake, Jason miraculously survived. So imagine this: little Jason, still just a kid, somehow managed to swim his way to safety. All alone and scared, Jason decided he would simply endure the situation, hoping for his mother's imminent arrival. Throughout those years, Jason managed to learn to fend for himself entirely, and he never crossed paths with his mother again. He made do with whatever resources presented themselves to him. In his solitude, Jason began to come to terms with the idea that his mother had met a tragic end, and he was left all on his own. Even after her death, he carried on, holding on to an eerie connection with her memory. He lived off the land, surviving on edible plants from the surrounding forests, hunting small animals, or sneaking bits of food wherever he could find it. He somehow managed to achieve independence from his mother and grew into a full-grown man. Though his survival was far from conventional, it was a crude, haphazard existence, but Jason had forged his own path in the wild, far removed from the sheltered life he'd once known. Now let's hop back to the 1950s, inside the comfy suburban city of Haddonfield, Illinois, where Michael Myers entered the world on October 19, 1957. His family lived in a quiet, regular residence at 45 Lambkin Lane. Now, here's where things started to get spooky. By the time he turned into a 6-year-old boy, young Michael started to reveal some pretty weird stuff. He claimed to have these peculiar, unexplainable nightmares. He stated that there was a voice in his head pushing him to do evil things. His dreams were like a real-life time machine, taking him back centuries to the Celtic Age. In these vivid visions, he saw a disfigured 15-year-old boy named Enda. This kid, Enda, had a tragic story of rejection and revenge. He brutally murdered his true love, Deirdre. during the Samhain feast, which eventually became known as Halloween Night. Now, you might be wondering why these ancient eerie dreams would matter later on in Michael's life. Well, you're in for quite a chilling story. In 1963, on a fateful October 31st, Michael Myers' parents had gone out, leaving him in the care of his older sister, Judith, who was supposed to look after him. This is where the terrifying tale begins. Dressed up in a clown costume, young Michael sneakily made his way into the kitchen. He grabbed hold of a kitchen knife and silently headed upstairs. What happened next is the stuff of horror legends. He stabbed Judith to death cold. Calculated, chilling. But Michael wasn't finished. After this gruesome act, he simply walked back downstairs and out into the front yard. There he waited like a dark omen. He knew the police would come, along with his parents, to discover the horrifying scene. They did indeed arrest him, and his life took a deeply sinister turn. Michael was sent to Smith's Grove Sanitarium, a mental institution, under the care of a psychiatrist named Dr. Samuel Loomis. For 15 long years, Michael remained there, almost like a living statue. He didn't move much, and he never spoke a single word. The darkness in him ran deep, and his story was just beginning. Fast forward to October 30th, 1978, and Michael Myers was about to unleash a new wave of terror. He wrecked his room at Smith's Grove Sanitarium, but that was just the beginning. He released the other patients from their rooms, turning the place into chaos. Dr. Samuel Lewis got wind of the mayhem. He noticed the patients wandering outside and knew something was terribly wrong. While he investigated, Michael attacked a nurse and made his escape. He was on the loose, and the nightmare was just starting. Michael's journey took him across Illinois. Along the way, he brutally murdered a truck driver, showing that his thirst for blood knew no bounds. His destination? Haddonfield, where his childhood home was. It was as if an evil force was pulling him back to his roots, and he was about to wreak a lot of mayhem.
There's someone else down here!
Scary appearance comparison. When we imagine Jason Voorhees, an enormous muscular figure emerges in our mind. He commands attention with his imposing presence and is renowned for two distinct features: the iconic hockey mask that hides his face and the deadly precise machete he brandishes. However, it isn't merely about the machete. This guy possesses a talent for transforming anything within reach into a weapon. He masters improvisation to such a degree that his victims rarely even stand a chance. Unfortunately, they all fall prey to him. However, and here lies the twist, despite Jason's grim reputation, he appears to have a few peculiar soft spots. But should anyone dare to cross his path and cause an obstacle, they are mercilessly cut down. His complete silence distinguishes him notably. He is indeed a man who chooses his words sparingly. The closest he's ever come to breaking that silence is when his spirit took over Officer Randy Parker. But aside from that, he's the strong, silent, and horrifying type. When you take a good look at Michael, you'll notice a tall, rather lanky figure standing at around 6 feet. He's not the bulkiest guy for his height, though. He sports a unique getup, rocking a mechanic's coverall jumpsuit that gives him a distinct look. Topping it all off, he's got that eerie white mask on his face and some sturdy black boots. Now about his signature weapon. It's a chef's knife that he wields with deadly precision. You might spot a few battle scars if you get a closer look at him. One that really stands out is a peculiar wound on his hand, which looks a bit like a burn mark. It's a strange yet telling detail about his twisted history, and if you dare to lift that mask, you'll find even more eerie details. Michael seems to sport just one eye, and it's got a haunting bluish tint to it. It's the kind of unsettling detail that gives you the creeps. He's seen his fair share of action, and it's taken a toll on him. He's lost 3 fingers from one of his first battles, and he's got other battle scars to show, including a bullet wound and a gruesome neck injury. It's clear that Michael's a man marked by a lifetime of dark and violent experiences. Tools of terror, weapons of the most iconic slasher villains. When Jason Voorhees takes folks on a chilling tour of the infamous Camp Crystal Lake, you can bet he's got his trusty machete right there with him. Across a dozen movies, Jason has diversified his murderous toolkit, but one thing remains constant: that machete. At least once in every film, he goes back to his trusty old weapon. And it seems the love for the machete runs in the family. Jason's dear mother, Pamela Voorhees, wasn't shy about using a machete either. You can spot her using it in the first film's opening scene, showing that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Now, when Jason came back from the grave, he was like a twisted handyman, gathering whatever equipment he could find. His very first weapon as an undead killer was something entirely unexpected: a metal fence post that acted as a lightning rod, zapping him back to life. But he didn't just leave it there. He used that fence post as a makeshift spear, delivering 2 gruesome kills in one iconic swoop. It's a shame the fence post didn't make a return in the movies, but Jason doesn't stop there. He's got a knack for using pretty much anything as a weapon. Take, for example, the notorious sleeping bag kill. He swung a poor victim's sleeping bag against a tree, shattering their skeleton in a brutal and unforgettable moment. This kill became so famous that fans paid homage to it, and even the reboot featured a different take on the sleeping bag kill. It's easily one of the most iconic deaths in the series. Twice, Jason has chosen a fireplace poker as his weapon of choice. It may seem like a run-of-the-mill item, but it becomes a deadly instrument in his hands. Then there's the wood-chopping axe, another seemingly basic tool. Jason used it on multiple occasions throughout the long line of Friday the 13th movies. In fact, he wielded the axe before he even got his hands on that famous machete. It's the second most frequently used weapon by Jason, and it even left its mark by giving him that iconic crack in his mask. The lesson here is simple: in the wrong hands, even the most everyday objects can become instruments of horror. Now, let's talk about Michael Myers' weapon of choice. That massive butcher knife he wields is a force to be reckoned with. There's something undeniably terrifying about the way he slowly approaches his prey, knife in hand, inching closer with every step. It's the simplicity that makes him so chilling. He's like a blank slate, a machine with a pulse, and that everyday kitchen knife adds to the creepiness of his character. Over his 40-year murder spree, Myers hasn't been limited to just the knife. He's picked up both ends of a carpenter's hammer to claim his victims. In a couple of instances, he's ditched his trusty butcher knife for a sharp metal spike, and the results have been equally deadly. But it doesn't stop there. Michael knows how to make use of the tools around him. He's also wielded a scalpel and a large medical machete to end many lives. He's even shown an inventive streak, using a tripod leg to rack up his 75th victim. Yes, you heard it right, a tripod. He picked up a camera mounted on one and used the sharpened leg to savagely impale his target. That's the kind of gruesome creativity that sets him apart as a true horror icon. Exploring physical strength of Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees. Jason wasn't your average guy. He seemed to pack some serious, almost otherworldly strength. It was like he could impale his victims with ease, making gruesome work of them. And breaking through a window? Well, he could do it even when his fist wasn't exactly in tip-top form. As he kept going, his power just kept on growing. Crushing someone's head? No problem for Jason. And as if that wasn't enough, he could heave a hefty 100-plus pound object like it was a feather, showcasing a level of strength that defied the laws of nature. He even pulled off a skull-crushing feat just to drive home the point. Even when he was still human, ordinary folks didn't stand much of a chance at overpowering him. Jason's default setting was pure brute strength, and he rarely met his match when he was up and about. Michael Myers is a truly formidable force, and his strength is nothing short of extraordinary. He can effortlessly lift people off the ground, a chilling display of his power. When it comes to obstacles like tough glass and walls, they're like tissue paper to him. He smashes through them with ease that can send shivers down your spine. But it's not just strength. Michael possesses a seemingly supernatural level of durability. You name it. He survived hits from Carl's barreling at high speeds, walked away from massive explosions, shrugged off gunshots, and even laughed in the face of acids and other body blows that would kill an ordinary person. It's like he's got some dark, mysterious force shielding him. There's this eerie notion that Halloween, of all days, is when the demon inside Michael Myers is at its zenith. On this day, legend has it that he becomes an unstoppable force, nearly impossible to kill. The best strategy, then, is to steer clear of his path until Halloween has passed, avoiding any direct confrontation with this relentless and seemingly indestructible embodiment of evil. Who can resist more pain? Jason Voorhees has been through the ringer. There's no doubt about it. This hockey-masked killer has shrugged off a mountain of bodily damage to the point where he's been considered nothing short of immortal. Blows to the head and bullets to the chest, it's all in a day's work for Jason. The peculiar thing is, he doesn't seem to feel pain in the way we do. He's like an enigma on two legs, able to endure excruciating wounds without even a hint of discomfort. Trying to put a measure on his pain is a fruitless endeavor. While Jason's not exactly a chatterbox, even if he could talk, he wouldn't be able to describe the pain. It's at that extent. It's believed that early on, he did feel pain to a certain degree, but he had a threshold that could put even the toughest of us to shame. However, when he crossed over into his zombie phase, it was like he became impervious to pain, possibly due to some damage to his nervous system. On a mental level, you might say Jason's vulnerable, but pain is not on the menu when it comes to the physical stuff. He's practically invulnerable in that department. A genuinely perplexing aspect about Michael Myers is that he has an apparent inability to feel pain, even the type of pain that would cause us a crazy amount of agony or worse. Ultimately, though, and this is the most important factor here, Michael is pretty much human. His possession of near supernatural powers is strange for sure, but at his core lurks nothing more than a profoundly disturbed human psychopath. He must possess the capacity to experience pain. However, it seems he wields a unique power, the art of concealing it. Alternatively, one might argue he inhabits a state of psychosis where his mind fails to process or acknowledge any signals indicative of physical suffering from external stimuli. One theory suggests that Michael Myers could be diagnosed with this rare medical condition, congenital insensitivity to pain. This possibility explains his immunity to pain and the resilience of his injuries, both anomalies that set him apart from regular human beings. Healing ability is not an issue, is it? After his transformation into a revenant zombie, Jason gains a remarkable ability, super fast tissue regeneration. This means he can take a hit from bullets or knives and, well, not be too bothered by it. He bounces back from fatal injuries like they're nothing more than a scratch. So the logical way to put him down for good is by chaining him to the murky depths of Crystal Lake. But even then, he's like a bad penny that keeps turning up, almost always coming back to full health. Now, this regeneration isn't without its quirks. It might sound like he's invincible, but his appearance tells a different story. He's got that undead, desiccated look, with exposed bones and tissue that's seen better days. It's not the prettiest sight, but it's the price he pays for his unique abilities. Here's the truly strange part. Even though he's technically undead, his body just laughs off any nasty stuff that would instantly kill any regular living person. You name it. Poison, viruses, diseases, bacteria, none of them seem to faze him. But how he can still be sedated is a bit of a mystery. Michael Myers is no slouch in the regeneration department either. Let's discuss the truly shocking time when his left eye was poked out. However, that same night, in another unexpected twist, his previously injured eye regained its functionality. Yet more surprises lay ahead. By the end of the night, both his eyes suffered gunshot wounds, an outcome one would assume would be the end of his eyesight forever. Fast forwarding 20 years, we discover that both of Michael's eyes have restored themselves to their original working order, as if nothing had ever happened. His skin, too, endured some rough times. Yet even it underwent a miraculous recovery. He seems to possess an intrinsic rewind button for his own body. analyzing the supernatural abilities of Jason Voorhees, contrasting with Michael Myers. Once Jason transformed into a revenant zombie, his physical strength went off the charts. We're talking Titanic levels here. From the outset, he demonstrated his newfound power by brutally punching right through his victim's body. But Jason's strengths extend even beyond this point. He effortlessly propels his victims through the air, almost as if they were weightless. As for sheer power, a force of nature is an understatement in describing him. He practically thinks of his victims' bodies as marshmallows. He can do anything he wants to them. Should a fallen tree ever pin him, there's no need to panic, because without exerting even an ounce of effort, Jason is able to free himself. There is clearly so much more to him than meets the eye. Indeed, this display of his strengths is only a fraction of what lies hidden. Tossing someone aside with a single thrust? Child's play for him. Twisting heads off without breaking a sweat? Absolutely, he can do that too. And if he decides to, he'll bend a body backwards until it snaps in half like a dry twig. It's a level of strength that's nothing short of bone-chilling, and you definitely wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of it. Michael Myers has always been a bit of a puzzle, and fans have cooked up their fair share of theories about what's going on with him. His astonishing capacity to endure pain and even death has left many folks puzzled. It's almost like he's playing in a different league, and that's why some have floated the idea that there might be a touch of supernatural about him. His resilience and sheer might have often pushed the boundaries of what you'd expect from your run-of-the-mill human. Some folks even toy with the notion that Michael's toughness and vigor could somehow be linked to the body count he's racked up. According to this theory, each murder he commits might be pumping up his strength and making him even tougher. This can explain his resilience in the face of the daunting challenges he faces throughout the series. The films never explicitly tell us this, however. Michael's endurance appears at times less like than that of a normal human being, and more as if there's a dark and powerful entity inside him. Indeed, there resides within him an uncanny, almost primal quality, one which defies common knowledge yet profoundly influences all facets of his existence, including his inhumanly high tolerance to pain. Who is more intelligent? This is a bit of a head-scratcher with Jason. Despite his hydrocephalus and those mental disabilities he's got, he's actually pretty darn clever. This legendary criminal doesn't just stumble into his victims, he plans things out with a tactical mind that's almost unsettling. He's like a twisted strategist, laying traps and arranging bodies as gruesome obstacles for his prey. Each of his murderous endeavors is a deadly work of art, unique and horrifying. He outstandingly eludes detention and remains in the shadows despite being in areas of high surveillance. It is as though he possesses an uncanny ability to turn invisible. Jason also possesses an uncanny sense of direction, allowing him to effortlessly navigate his way back to Crystal Lake from far-off distances and go to any location without ever getting confused or losing his way. This combination of intellect and peculiar sixth sense renders Jason Voorhees a formidable embodiment of terror. Now, don't let Michael Myers' appearance fool you. A surprising level of intelligence and tactical cunning resides beneath his mask. He is a master of stealth, able to approach his victims with an eerie silence that instills spine-chilling fear. Furthermore, we must acknowledge one more of his abilities. He, strangely enough, can drive. This makes him even more formidable. Even after enduring a 15-year confinement, he leaps into the driver's seat with an air of familiarity, as if it were merely another routine day at work. However, his unsettling mastery over human anatomy is what truly disturbs us as viewers. He seems to have a chilling understanding of just where to strike to inflict the most damage. It's that eerie mix of intelligence and ruthless skill that makes Michael Myers a truly fearsome figure in the world of horror. Who has the higher kill count? So here's the lowdown on Jason Voorhees and his murderous career. The Friday the 13th franchise has a total of 12 films, but Jason isn't around in 2 of them. Now, there are actually 2 different timelines to consider. The original one, starting with the 1980 debut, and the 2009 reboot. In the original timeline, Jason's body count stands at a chilling 143 kills, while in the 2009 timeline, it's a mere 14. That's a grand total of about 157 lives taken by this relentless killer. But here's the kicker. That number might be a bit flexible depending on whether you're the kind of fan who counts off-screen and assumed kills. Although we settled on a total of 157 murders in this list, the actual number of his homicide cases remains a subject of debate, even though undoubtedly Jason Voorhees emerges as one of the most lethal figures in the world of horror. He claims supremacy over all other movie murderers in terms of body count. Who knows? Perhaps we will witness a surge in his total if a new Friday the 13th movie graces theaters. As of now, however, Jason retains his position as horror's most prolific killer. Alright, let's dive into the gruesome world of Michael Myers and his body count in the Halloween film series. There are 11 movies in total, and he's the star in all but one of them. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Not every Halloween movie is part of the same storyline. In fact, there are 4 distinct timelines that track Michael Myers' reign of terror in the films. In the original timeline, he racks up around 58 kills. Then in the H2O timeline, it's 30. The remake timeline gives him 31 victims. And in the 2018 timeline, he scores 21. So after we do the math, we're looking at a grand total of about 121 lives snuffed out by Michael Myers in 10 films, spanning over 40 years of horror history. But here's the catch. That number can vary from fan to fan because of kills that happen off-screen, in extended cuts, or in dream sequences. And hey, who knows? With the new Halloween film on the horizon, that tally might just get a significant boost. One thing's for sure though, Michael has been one seriously busy man over the past 4 decades of Halloween mayhem. Is one of them immortal? So let's rewind the clock a bit on Jason Voorhees. Up until the 4th Friday the 13th movie, he was just a human. A super tough, supernaturally strong one, but still human. He could get hurt, he could be killed. And that's precisely what happened at the end of Part 4. He was done for, buried and everything, all thanks to the bravery of a young Tommy Jarvis. But then Tommy, now grown up and still haunted by that nightmare of that incident, gets this gut feeling that Jason isn't really gone. So he heads back to the infamous Camp Crystal Lake with a plan in mind. He's going to dig up Jason's body and set it on fire, making sure he's gone for good. Tommy goes to work, digs up the grave, pries open Jason's coffin, and then, well, he kind of loses it. He goes all out on Jason's lifeless body with a metal pole, stabbing away in a rage-fueled frenzy. And here's the kicker. He leaves that pole right in Jason's corpse. And then, out of the blue, a bolt of lightning strikes that pole, and poof, Jason's back from the dead. From that moment on, Jason goes full undead mode, crawling out of his grave to resume his terrifying killing spree. Death no longer has a grip on him, and the only way to deal with him is to chain him at the bottom of Crystal Lake, the very place where he originally met his end. And there you have it, Jason Voorhees, the unstoppable force of horror. So, the Halloween movies have taken us on a bit of a roller coaster when it comes to explaining Michael Myers' immortality. Initially, they hinted that his unstoppable nature was due to a curse placed on him by the Thorn cult. According to their story, he was a vessel for an ancient evil deity, which made him pretty much death-proof. But then, the 2018 reboot came along and shook things up. It tossed that Thorn cult lore out the window and presented Myers as, well, just a human with an eerie ability to heal. So now we're left with a pretty epic debate in the horror film world. Is Michael a product of supernatural forces, or is he simply a man with an uncanny pain threshold? Some even speculate that it might be a mix of both. Maybe the Thorn cult's curse is real, and he's got some inherent superhuman gig going on. That could explain why he's so darn hard to kill. Thanks to his ridiculous resilience, the folks in the towns he terrorizes undoubtedly see him as immortal, if not supernatural. But here's the kicker. Michael Myers has died a bunch of times throughout the Halloween franchise, and yet he always manages to come back, even when it defies all logic. So who's to say he won't be resurrected again for future Halloween movies? The mystery continues.
Where the
Marvelous Verdict. An epic showdown between horror's most iconic figures, Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees, would unveil their near unstoppable forces. Michael possesses an eerie resilience and almost supernatural healing ability. Meanwhile, the undead Jason wields his machete as a formidable juggernaut. A direct confrontation between them would undoubtedly result in a blood-soaked battle for the history books. But to definitely declare a winner is challenging. Michael's relentlessness and intelligence, combined with Jason's sheer strength and determination, suggest a potential clash of titans. The ultimate outcome in such a duel could hinge on multiple factors. However, there is one certainty. The very notion that these horror legends might confront each other directly can induce spine-chilling fear within anyone. In the realm of horror cinema, the perpetual mystery that is the battle between Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees elicits unending thrills and questions. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.